Shalom. This Shabbat is called Shabbat HaGadol, the Great Sabbath, the Sabbath immediately preceding the festival of Pesach. It is on this Shabbat that we begin to prepare ourselves for the Passover Seder by considering the deeper meaning of the Passover story. Next week, as we sit around the Seder table, we will read the following words from the 13th chapter of the book of Exodus. Shivat yamim tochal matzot, uvayom hashvi'i chag ladonai. Matzot yeachel et shivat hayamim, velo yira'eh lecha chametz, velo yira'eh lecha seor bechol gevulecha. Vehigarata levincha b'yom ahu lemor, ba'ovor zeh asa Adonai li, b'tzeti mi Mitzraim. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and on the seventh day there shall be a festival of the Eternal. Throughout the 7 days unleavened bread shall be eaten. No leavened bread shall be found with you, and no leaven shall be found in all your territories. And you shall explain to your child on that day, it is because of what the Eternal did for me when I went free from Egypt. It is because of what the Eternal did for me when I went free from Egypt. Now, how can we say those words? We, who have never personally been slaves in Egypt, how can we say those words with any credibility? How can we say those words with any sense of authenticity? Do these words even speak to the reality of the world in which we live today? Do these words have any relevance to our personal lives as we live our lives in the 21st century? On Shabbat HaGadol, as we search out the deeper meaning of these words, we find that their message is as urgent today as it was when they were first spoken over 3,000 years ago. We Jews understand that a freedom which is not extended to all people, a freedom which is not universal, is not a freedom at all. Oh, it might be a freedom of sorts, but it's a very fragile kind of freedom. No one is truly free while others are enslaved. Avdut, slavery, in its most real and brutal sense, is a reality for millions of people around the world today. In parts of Africa and in the Middle East, slavery is alive and well. In Haiti, a country that I visit frequently, there are people called restiviks who are house slaves. Often they're sold as children by parents who can no longer provide for them, and they are frequently beaten and starved. They have no say in their own lives, in their own destinies. In dozens of nations around the world, women are treated as property, subjugated by men. They are enslaved physically, economically, and emotionally. Theirs is a life of degradation and servitude. Yes, they are slaves. There are modern-day pharaohs as well who oppress their people in so many ways. Ayatollahs in Iran who imprison and persecute those who choose to think for themselves. There's Kim Jong-un of North Korea, who keeps around 250,000 people in concentration camps. Dictators in Cuba and Venezuela trample the human rights of their own people as well. We Jews say the following words in our morning prayers. We say, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, sha'asani ben chorin. Now, the literal translation is, Blessed are you, O Lord, or Eternal One, our God, Sovereign of the universe, who has made me a free person. Now, there is another translation, a translation that says, Blessed are you, Eternal One, Sovereign of the universe, who has made me to be free. It's not quite an exact translation, but it's a translation that acknowledges that many people around the world today are not free. But that translation, who has made me to be free, acknowledges that it is God's will, it is God's blueprint for the world that people should live in freedom. On Passover, we Jews are reminded, we Jews who are well acquainted with degradation, people who know very well what it means to be denied freedom, we Jews are called upon to be advocates of freedom wherever freedom is denied. Not only denied to our people, but denied to all others as well. We also understand Yitziat Mitzraim, that is the exodus from Egypt, on a more personal level. It has been pointed out by many Torah commentators that Mitzraim, the Hebrew word for Egypt, actually means, or it comes from, a Hebrew root which means narrow, a narrow place. Egypt represents a narrow place. Some people live in the narrow place of physical, political, or economic slavery. But others, and perhaps this includes most of us, live in the narrow confines of our own thoughts and emotions, and we're not truly free. Few of us are truly free. We live lives hemmed in by prejudice, by traumatic memories, by cultural norms dictated by others. Some of us suffer from addictions or compulsive behaviors. Some of us are trapped by anger or fear, and consequently, we are not truly free. Beginning on Shabbat HaGadol and continuing through all the days of Passover, we consider the ways that narrow thinking keeps us from being the free persons God intended us to be. May you be blessed with a sweet and joyous Pesach, Shabbat Shalom, and Chag Sameach.